We just talked about assumptions. Assumptions kill ideas. We framed our hypothesis. Now we've identified a bunch of assumptions. So as a reminder, where we're going with the train is your team is going to come up with a value proposition from your creativity, and you're going to then identify all the assumptions that you're making in there, because the next thing you're going to do is you're going to design a suite of experiments that you're actually going to conduct for the final presentation. So you may be asking yourself, well, what are experiments? That's a great question. Let me just tell you right off the bat, experiments are used to validate our assumptions, which makes sense, but experiments are actually the core work function of entrepreneurs at this stage, at the initiation and at the start. The core work function. A quick story is I've left corporate America, started a company with a couple colleagues, and we built that company. And I decided actually to go off on my own and do the solopreneur thing, right? I'm going to start my own venture. And I did that on a great idea and a great value proposition that I had. And I remember this moment clearly. I've got a great idea. What do I do? And I sat in my living room for 3 days, scratching my head like, okay, I think I need to get customers. How do I do that? What exactly is going on? It's because I didn't have this understanding and realization that I have today. If I would have known, I would know exactly what I need to do, which is to be running experiments, conducting them with potential customers, and getting feedback and iterating, because guess what? We are going to find out. Growth of a startup is simply repeating experiments that are working. So we're going to do a bunch of experiments to get feedback, and the ones that work, the experiments that work, we're going to continue to do them because that's how we grow customers. All right, so then what types of experiments are we going to be running? Let's start listing them. I have a slide that we'll put up at the end that lists all the experiments. I have a running list. I think I'm up to about 25 by now. Experiments that entrepreneurs run when they are validating their assumptions and when they are actually starting to interact with potential customers. So first off, the first thing we need to understand is that we typically run experiments with a plan, and we run them with potential customers. That's what we do. We run our experiments on potential customers. Remember, potential customers pay. We also run experiments on end users because we need to validate some assumptions with end users as well. You just need to be clear. Are you running an experiment with a customer? Are you running an experiment with an end user? And just know that whichever one you're doing, that's the one you're doing. So you can keep the feedback and know how to apply the feedback in the appropriate way. Number one, the most probably important experiment we do as an entrepreneur is a customer interview. Customer interviews are you find who you think your potential customers are and you go talk to them, but you talk to them in a way in which you ask them questions unbiasedly and in a way that validates their thinking about your value proposition, not validating your thinking about it. It's very important to get their thinking so that you can validate the assumptions you're making. Number two, observations. And some of you that might have experience in entrepreneurship, design thinking, will know something called design thinking. And really just to simplify and cut away and make things simple. Design thinking is sort of the combination of doing observations and customer interviews. Observations is an unbiased seeing and an unobtrusive observation of your customer during important times. Like if you're going to make a parking app, well, then maybe you ride to work with one of your customers. You don't say anything at all. You just observe how they get to work, what do they do when they run into parking issues, what they say. You don't ask them any questions. You're not talking to them. Observations is you observe them without interruptions. All right? Then number 3, I think, is pitching. Yes, pitching is an experiment. So you've already done one. The video you did on pitching your idea was an experiment because what happened? You pitched your idea and you got feedback. That didn't make sense, or wow, that was brilliant. I totally understand. How can I support you? Or not sure I understand that. Like that's all feedback for you. You're getting feedback. So you can design customer interviews, observations, and pitching. And for your final project, you'll be required to do all 3 of these. Customer interviews, observations, actually. You're required to do these 2. And then you'll get to choose some experiments that you could do on your own. So maybe let me just kind of throw up other ideas. And I don't mean throw up. I mean put up other ideas. So you can do test ads. Test ads on Facebook, Instagram. Put a test ad out there, see what happens. Are people interested in it by clicking on it? The next thing you can do, which I think is absolutely brilliant, is a landing page. A landing page. So guess what? No, you don't have your fancy app built. No, you don't have your product built. You are simply have an idea and a value proposition. Well, nothing is getting in your way of doing the following. Put a test ad out on Facebook or Instagram to drive potential customers to a landing page. When your potential customers come to the landing page, you're going to put a landing page up that basically says, hey, thanks for your interest. Our product is rolling out soon. If you want to be one of the first people to hear about our product and purchase it, please leave your email. This is a most brilliant experiment because 1, you'll get your click-through rate on your test ad. So actually, what percent of customers are interested? You're validating their who they are and the problem they have. 2, if they come to your landing page and stick their email address on your landing page, guess what? They're buying your product because nobody puts their email anywhere anymore unless they're really, really interested. So what you've done prior to building your product, prior to actually creating anything, is you have a customer waiting for you. This is the magic of experimentation. Growth, repeating experiments that work. If this experiment works when you're in ideation, then when you're ready to roll out, you're going to repeat this experiment because you have real customers. Some of the other ones, Kickstarter. I love this one. Kickstarter or GoFundMe. I actually encourage my students at VCU, the undergrads, to start a Kickstarter campaign or a GoFundMe campaign because it's actually an experiment. No, they don't have a product. No, they've not created anything, the widget they're actually selling. They don't have any of that. But they create a Kickstarter campaign in order to get a sense of, well, who might be interested in this? The worst thing that happens is they get $20 from me because I give them $20, and $10 from their mom or dad or whatever. So they raise $30, but that's great feedback. The worst thing that might happen, honestly, is they get $10,000 because people are like, that's brilliant. Then they actually got to figure out, oh my goodness, we got something real. What do we do now? Then we work on it, right? But that's brilliant. They get customers right away without having any any manufacturing. They've not invested any money in product development. They don't have an MVP or anything like that. You can use Google Analytics. Let's see what other ones out there. Oh, I love this one. 3x5 note cards. I actually saw this from a local entrepreneur. I believe he was the prior founder of, Snagajob maybe. But I saw him speaking, and he was creating an app. You know how much it costs to design an app, the actual technology behind it? It's a lot of money. So before you spend a lot of money on this idea of yours and find out that you have assumptions that you didn't validate, therefore you wasted all your money because nobody's buying your product. Instead, if you're building an app, take 3x5 note cards. And on the first note card, draw the first page of the app. Flip it, draw the next page of the app. Flip it, draw the next page of the app. And you've basically penciled and drawn on a storyboard your app. Take those 3x5 note cards and hand it to who you think your customer is going to be and watch them. They're going to take your cards and they're going to go like this. Oh, wow. Hey, where can I get this? That's amazing feedback. Or they're going to go, hey, thanks for sharing. This makes no sense. Oh, that's amazing feedback too. Now you've gotten customer interaction on your experiment. And here is the best thing. I'm going to put up the slide on what all they are, on all the experiments. But guess what? Do you know how much this costs? How much did this cost you to do? I don't know, $100. Customer interviews are free. Observations are free. 3x5 note cards are $10. Test ads, maybe $50. A landing page is $20. Kickstarter campaign's free. GoFundMe's free. Google Analytics are free. Blogs are free. Surveys are free. Focus groups are free. Beta user feedback may take some investment. But when I hear people say, yeah, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't have any money to invest in my startup, I remind them that honestly, it doesn't cost anything to really start and get your idea, frame your hypothesis, and go out there and conduct interviews. And before you know it, oh darn, you might actually have customers, which would be the best thing ever. And what? You've invested $100. That's awesome. So part of this course is you working with your group to come up with an idea, frame that value proposition, design, identify all your assumptions so that you can do customer interviews to test that assumption. Do 3x5 note cards to test the assumption. Start up a Kickstarter campaign. Hey, send me the link, right? You never know what might happen. And then test ads, landing pages. And that's what you're going to do. And after you do all these experiments, you're going to come back on our final presentation day, our final live session, and your team's going to do a presentation on how all this went. What did you learn about your human story mindset and set of activities, about your value proposition in the opportunity cycle, and how did this all work out for you? And congratulations, by the way, because when you do this, you have actually become an entrepreneur. You're the real deal. You've done it. How to be an entrepreneur. I think I have one more video to shoot for you, so I'm going to pause right here, erase a few things, and then shoot that video for you. So see you in a second.